At 4:30, everybody came home in the motor. Randy, Mona, and Oliver played prisoner's base on the lawn. Cuffy peeked into Rush's room, thought that he was sleeping, and went down to the kitchen to get supper. Willie came with her to peel the potatoes and have a good talk. At 5:30, a procession of slate-blue clouds rose out of the west and hid the setting sun. They were thick, huge, overpowering clouds full of a mean spirit. The surprise they brought with them was a vast, boisterous wind that burst unannounced upon the world to tear the last of Indian summer into ribbons. The children ran indoors. Willie went down cellar to get wood for the fireplaces, and Cuffy hurried out to the clothesline and gathered up armfuls of bounding, devil-possessed clothes. High in the treehouse, Rush curled deeper into sleep, pulling his bathrobe close about him. "How's Rush feeling, Cuffy?" asked Mona, setting the table. "I guess he's all right," Cuffy answered from the kitchen. "He's still asleep." She was right about that. Rush was still asleep, only not where she thought he was. The wind blew harder and harder. It wrenched the shutters from their catches and slapped them against the house. It blew the smoke down the chimney and tore branches from the trees. Up in the woods, something fell to the earth with a loud crash. Rush sat up suddenly, chilled and stiff. At first he couldn't remember where he was. He was lost in a frightening turmoil of dark and wind. The very earth was rocking beneath him, and overhead all he could see was strange tossing forms and driving clouds. Absolutely terrified, he put out his hand and touched the rough, solid bark of the oak. The cold sweat of relief sprang out all over him. So it wasn't the end of the world, after all. It was only his own treehouse, rocking in a gale. "Boy, I better scram back to bed," Rush said to himself. "I wonder if I can climb up that spruce tree in the dark as easily as I came down it." The thought exhausted him. Maybe he could sneak up the back stairs without being caught. He turned up the collar of his bathrobe, flung one leg over the rail, and reached out with his slippered foot for the top rung of Willie's ladder. His foot waved aimlessly at first, then searchingly, and at last frantically. There was no ladder. "Well, gee," Rush said. He waved his foot around some more, but it met only empty space. The ladder had blown over. That must have been what woke him up. "I could jump," he remarked without enthusiasm. He leaned over the railing and looked down. "Jump? 20 feet in the dark and into bushes? You'd be a jackass to try it," Rush admonished himself. "You'd break something or other, and first thing you know Mona'd be practicing her first aid on you. Not much." The next thing was to yell. He leaned far out and shouted in the direction of the house. "Cuffy!" brayed Rush. "Oh, Willie!" But the wind and the woods were roaring like the entire Atlantic Ocean. Rush might have been a cricket chirping in a wilderness. He had yelled so hard and long that his already sore throat began to ache unbearably, and, discouraged, he sat down again on the platform, his back against the oak. There was nothing to do but wait. "Maybe I'll die up here, starve to death," he mumbled, feeling sorry for himself. But the absurdity of the statement was apparent even to him. Sooner or later somebody would come. But by that time I'll be dead of exposure, Rush thought. That wasn't so amusing. The wind howled about him, cold and violent, and only the fever in his veins kept him warm. "I probably really will get pneumonia now," he said, with a sort of triumphant gloom. Far away, between leaves and branches, he could see the small, glittering lights of the house. They came and went fitfully, a constellation of fireflies. Inside the house, the family would be eating supper now, warm, cozy, and protected, not caring that he was alone, cold, shut out in the storm. Why didn't they come and find him? But there was a good answer to that, and Rush knew what it was. The answer was a pillow buried in a lifelike lump under the blankets of his bed. You don't get away with much in this world, observed Rush profoundly. Oh, it was a wild night. The oak was racked with wind. It creaked and groaned in all its limbs. Cold leaves flew at Rush like bats. Overhead, the torn, moon-filtered clouds raced hauntedly across the sky. What a howling, tossing, frenzied world it was. Too bad it's not Halloween, he thought. Anybody could believe in witches tonight. But Halloween had come and gone a week ago, mild as a lamb. He shook with chill and burned with fever by turns. Against the darkness, strange patterns flamed and were gone. Fiery pinwheels, dancing stars, geometrical designs outlined in colored light, all the fantastic figures of a fevered imagination. Rush watched them with his teeth chattering. The Brahms Rhapsody galloped interminably through his mind, in tune with the wild night. I don't think I'll ever be able to play it again, he thought, without feeling sick.